Faker Others done a brilliant interview with Dean Henderson earlier. Those that don't know, Dean Henderson was on loan last season. The season before, was it Sheffield United?
Yes, he was, yes.
Done very well. Went back to Manchester United. And David had a bit of a tricky old season, the season before last. And he was told by Ollie, or whoever was at the club, that he would be the number one goalkeeper.
Yep.
That he would come back. And he said in the interview that he got COVID, couldn't get himself back in. David De Gea started.
Yep.
And I thought David had a decent season, actually. But it goes to show, and I know goalkeepers are slightly different in this because it's not like you can play any other position. You know, if we've seen so many players, if you're right back, you can also do a job at left back, and you might be able to do a job in the centre midfield. Goalkeepers are tricky. But he said, in his words, that he felt that the decision for him to stay at Old Trafford last season, his word, was criminal. Yeah. And that's quite damning, actually. It's quite damning. And if they felt and knew that they weren't going to use him in January, he said he turned down lots of offers to get himself out of Old Trafford on loan, and he turned them down. Let's hear what Dean Henderson was talking about nobody keeping promises at Manchester United. Here he is.
Coming out of that Euro squad was you coming back here to be the number one goalkeeper, and I got COVID, come back, so I should have still been the number one. But then, unfortunately, no one followed through with anything they told me. It was frustrating as well because I turned so many good loans down last summer for that reason, and they wouldn't let me go. So it was frustrating, and to sit there and waste 12 months it's criminal, really. At my age, I was fuming, but I worked hard off the pitch and on the training pitch to keep improving day in, day out. So I'm really excited to be back here and looking forward to the season with Forest.
You don't hear it there, but Faker Others, brilliant interview, some explosive stuff, it's really revealing and brutally honest, and you know, and it's. I think it was good to hear, actually. Good to hear that a player could come out and say what it did feel as though he was waiting for the opportunity to give his side of the story, because as far as I'm aware, no rumours have come out about him. Normally you hear bits in the press. He might have told a couple of journos, someone else might have leaked it, his agent, various different other sources might have come out, but we've not heard of anyone suggesting that was the case. What have you made of his comments?
Well, I agree. It seems like they've caught him on a time where he is the most angry because look, I was one of those players as well where you give the bog standard answer. You know, I'll keep trying to improve on the pitch and I'll keep doing it. I'll ask the manager the question. He didn't. And I think he's got a few years left at Manchester United, so he's potentially going to go back. I mean, he's not short of confidence. We've seen that. We see that when Chris Wilder publicly criticised him.
It was early on that season. Against Liverpool, I think.
I think he dropped one and conceded a goal, publicly criticised him, and he came out and said, Chris Wilder, that I know he can handle that and he'll improve. And he ended up winning their Player of the Season, I believe. That's what happened. So he's not short of confidence. I know this time last season, he was extremely confident of being Manchester United's number one and England's number one right now. So a year later, just before the Euros. And it's not worked out. And he even said, he told the hierarchy that he needed to be playing football and let him go. He said he didn't want Erik ten Hag to see him playing in training or see him training because he wouldn't let him go because he'd see how good he is.
He doesn't want another season.
Exactly.
He doesn't want another season. And it's always tricky for number two goalkeepers, isn't it?
I like it. I look at that now and I think, as a player, I wish I spoke out a little bit more.
Has there been any examples that you can relate to with this in your career?
Little bits and pieces, yeah. Not so much. I was at Newcastle. So Bobby obviously signed me. Said he was gonna let me leave, go back to Ipswich.
Sorry, what do you mean when he let you leave?
When I signed, he said, "Look, you can go back on loan."
What, that season or the season after?
That season.
Oh, so when did you sign? You signed
now Ipswich were in administration, so I signed in March. Right. It was out of the transfer window. They were allowed to sell off their assets. Ipswich. Right. So Bobby, to get me to sign, said, "Look, sign. I'll send you back on loan." Obviously, foolishly, we didn't get that put into the contract. And then he said, look, once I'd signed on the dotted line, basically. I said, when do you want me back in the pre-season? He said, you ain't going nowhere, son. Like, you're in the squad, you're in the team, you're on the bench at the weekend. And look, that was a scenario where, it was a little lie, but I ended up playing for one of the biggest clubs in the country at the time, and I made my debut at the weekend. So that wasn't too bad. But Charlton was the one. I felt I was loyal to Charlton last 2 years. Too loyal. Now, we got relegated from the Premier League, and you'll know, Jace, as players, you go in, you say, right, what's everyone thinking? You know, we've got a fantastic squad, we've got an opportunity of getting promoted. I had a chance to go out in Fulham. I think Roy Hodgson was a manager. I could have gone to Fulham, and I didn't. I decided to stay.
So Fulham in the Premier League.
Yep. It was the season that Fulham stayed up last game of the season. I don't remember. Kieran Richardson scored the goal. And
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Kept him in the division. But I had an opportunity at the start to go there, and I didn't. I said, look, I'm going to stay. Everyone kind of agreed.
Why did you say no?
Because the chat I had with a few of the senior players at Ipswich, people will know if we look at the year. Everyone was saying we're going to stay because we've got a huge opportunity to get promotion.
Who's the names?
And then
is Benty one of them?
Benty was there. Obviously, he ended up leaving. He went to Tottenham.
Oh, he left you there, did he?
Hariderson obviously left.
Right.
I think
Fino?
Matty H stayed. Matty Holland stayed. But that was the reason, because we was all deciding let's stay, let's have a push, and then one by one, everyone was jumping ship really, and I'm thinking I've stayed. I've turned Fulham down like. And if I know now, and then the last couple of years at Charlton didn't go too well. Partly my fault, partly that it was in the Championship, and I never really got back to the Premier League after that. So for me, staying loyal ended my Premier League career.
See, this is it. So fans that we had a caller on last night, a Leicester City fan, very upset that Chelsea dared during the transfer window.
Yep.
Think about or speak to Leicester City about signing Fofana. Right, he's on a 5-year contract. And he naively thinks that perhaps because they've signed a 5-year contract, it should be, his words, illegal to go and speak to them.
Nonsense.
Now, the transfer window's open for a reason. Yep. Everyone is fair game. And we've seen a number of players, and I mentioned them in the opener. I'll read them again. Lewandowski fought his way out to Bayern Munich, had a year left in his contract. He's done, as far as during the transfer window, if he feels his future needs to be elsewhere, done nothing wrong.
Yep.
Christian Eriksen, this is the biggest joke of all.
Yep.
I've heard people on talkSPORT saying that he owes Brentford something. No, he doesn't.
Nope.
They paid for his loyalty. He served them well. He's now a free agent. He can move on. Cucurella at Brighton.
Yep.
Exactly the same. You see, Manchester City are interested in him. He feels as though that what player in the right mind who's been at Brighton for one season would not want to go to the champions of the country?
Yep.
Who wouldn't want to do that?
That's
right?
the reason he signed for Brighton. So it's a stepping stone. So let's be honest.
Brighton have done good business. Look what they've done with Ben White. Okay. Yep. I'm not saying they've got to let him go for free. I'm not saying they've got to let him go cheap. But I'm saying the club have a duty to the board and make sure they get the best price.
Yep.
The player's got a duty to himself, and putting a transfer request has done nothing wrong. And I put Maddison and Fofana in the same bracket. There is no loyalty in football.